Well, I'm off to go fishing. I was supposed to leave like 30 minutes ago, but that would have been like 4:45 in the morning, which is right about the time I normally wake up for work. But if I've learned anything from these fish that we could take away, don't fall for the bait. Yep. Do not fall for the bait. The fish don't seem to be falling for the bait either. But Satan, our enemy, he's always throwing some bait out there for us to bite on, to hook us with. And usually it has something to do within our mind and going against the will of God and choosing our own will because we think something feels right or more better, or we use things like, well, I have peace about this, and of course you have peace about that because that's what you want. That's what you want. So of course you're going to have peace about that. And so the enemy will have you going chasing your own will and carnality. And that's even what being offended is. Being offended is choosing your own will over God's will. Because God's will for you is to not be offended and is to forgive and extend mercy. But then the argument inside the mind comes, why should I be the one extending mercy? They're the ones being a jerk. Are they? Because you're being given the opportunity to love and be an example, and you're choosing yourself. See, in the proper posture, and granted, I hate saying these things because then I have to live them out. Now, granted, I've had to live these out, where I've had someone be so vile to me, but they didn't see it. They didn't realize it. And I sure in the heck wasn't going to point it out to them because that's not love either, to an extent. It was in such a bad predicament. I remember I was on this trip, this retreat, and this person that God had brought into my life was being they were being challenged in their own mind. I will say that. And with that, they acted out and such. But I got to a point during this trip that I was trying to leave in the middle of the retreat. I was trying to book myself a flight out of there so that I can get away from all of it. And God wasn't having it. He wasn't allowing it, not one bit. Because it was better for me to sit there and die and learn to love like Jesus loves. And I had to come to a conclusion that, Lord, they don't know what they're doing, but neither do I. Help. Now, eventually, we were able to reach some type of understanding towards the end of that trip. But we would go around that mountain at least two or three more times. But eventually, the trip to the mountain got uh, bigger and bigger. In other words, further apart. And God, in His wisdom, helped me get free. But me getting free of myself and my own self entitlement led to them getting free because I learned how to love them even deeper than I ever thought I could love when it came to that type of situation. And there were heated moments, and I probably said some things. I remember at one point they looked at me and they said, "I don't know what your problem is." And I said, "You, you are my problem. And the way that you handle every single situation and the way that you speak to me, you are my problem." And that whole weekend, my worship song wasn't a worship song. And it was very much about me, though. And it was a song by an artist named Cody Jinks called "I'm Not the Devil," because that's how I felt. I felt like I was being treated as if I was the devil. And the whole song was just basically about I'm not the devil that you think that I am. I am just a man, though. But there's all these pitfalls. There's all this bait that Satan will try to set up for us to bite on. And like these fish, and I'm trying lures, I've tried live worms. This morning, I created some stinky bait, like out of hot dogs, garlic, and like Kool-Aid type mix. I got all sorts of stuff going on. It's crazy. Trying anything to get these fish to bite. In all reality, I can't get them to bite. Be like these fish. Be resilient to the bait of Satan because these fish are resilient to the bait of Wes. And I'm watching people all around me. I was at another lake the other day, and this guy caught like 6 or 7 fish in the span of time that I was there. We even went and got the same bait he had and couldn't catch it. Couldn't even get a bite. Could, couldn't get a snag. Couldn't get anything. Couldn't even catch a bait fish, like a little tiny fish. So be like these fish and be resilient. Do not fall for the bait of Satan. Don't fall for the pit traps of offense. Don't fall for the pit traps of getting caught up in the carnality of your mind and thinking that the way that you're doing something is more right than what God would have you do. Because that creates an entire lifestyle that you get entrapped in and you don't realize that you are entrapped in it. Especially because what happens is you start bringing other people that are like-minded and like-willed, and they themselves will agree with you. You know what? You should be mad about this. This was not handled right. No, the moment people start agreeing with you, that's probably the just the light bulb that needs to go off. If you get a group of people that are in agreement with you, that you are more than likely acting in accordance to the flesh and your own will than you are in the Spirit of God. Because the Spirit of God will contradict the wisdom of this world. The Spirit of God will contradict the ways of man. You got to remember, Jesus came into the earth and he broke the laws himself. When it came time to heal the man that was paralytic, they said, "How are you going to forgive sins?" Jesus said, "All right, you got a problem with that? All right, rise up and walk." You can't heal this guy. It's the Sabbath. That dude didn't care it was the Sabbath. He cared he could see. Jesus said, "Which of you, if you had a donkey, fell in a ditch on the Sabbath, that you wouldn't pull the donkey out to save its life?" Well, what about the woman with the issue of blood? She was considered unclean. She wasn't even supposed to enter into the town. Her coming into the town would have gotten her killed. And Jesus, even though she touched the hem of his garment, still power went out and she got healed. A Nazarene couldn't be around a dead person. Jesus is raising dead people left and right. So your ideology of the law is nothing but a pile of poop, because God himself, incarnate Jesus in the flesh, the law of life and love supersede the written law. So don't fall for the bait of Satan unless you plan on living the full Levitical law. What is it, like a 237 points or something to that effect? Toss that puppy out the window. Anyways, it's Father's Day. I hope you all have a great Father's Day.